The frost had not yet lifted from the ground when she heard it. A sound that did not belong to the morning. It was low, dragging, like something heavy being pulled across the earth. And then it stopped, as if it had heard her listening. Ellen was a maid at the old manor house, a place of stone and silence, where the wind rattled through broken shutters and soot clung to every corner. Her mornings were always the same, fetching water from the well, gathering wood for the kitchen fire, sweeping the ash from the great hall before the family descended. But that morning, the air carried a stillness that made her hesitate. Even the crows, which usually squabbled over the garden walls, were absent. The only sound was that dragging noise, somewhere beyond the orchard, where the mist was thickest. She tried to ignore it, tried to convince herself it was the gardener, though she knew he had not been seen for days. Inside the manor, routine tried to anchor her. The creak of the mop across the flagstones. The rattle of buckets on the iron hooks. The smell of boiled turnips seeping into the wooden beams. All the ordinary details that gave shape to her day. And yet, each corner of the house seemed to press in tighter, as though the rooms had grown narrow in the night. When she carried linens up the stairwell, she noticed a smear along the wall, dark, crusted, almost hidden in the cracks of the stone. It might have been soot, or something older. By the afternoon, the manor had grown strangely quiet. The family had left for town, the servants scattered on errands, and only Ellen remained to tend the fire. She welcomed the solitude at first, but soon the silence began to stretch, until she felt she was being listened to, from somewhere just beyond sight. That dragging noise returned. Not outside this time, but within the walls themselves. Slow, deliberate, as though something enormous was shifting its weight just behind the plaster. She pressed her ear to the wood, but there was nothing, only the hollow breath of the house. When night settled, she kept to her duties, though her hands trembled. The corridors seemed longer, the shadows deeper, as though the candles themselves recalled from what they revealed. She could not escape the sense of being followed. In the cellar, where she went to fetch wine, the air was damp and close. Rows of bottles gleamed faintly in the torchlight, and the stone steps were slick with moisture. As she bent to lift a jug, she heard it again, dragging, scraping, as though nails or claws trailed across the far wall. Her torch flickered. The sound stopped. She left the jug behind and fled upstairs, the echo of her own footsteps unnervingly loud. At the top of the stair, she paused to catch her breath, and saw, on the dusty floor before her, a trail. Not footprints, but long grooves, cut deep, as though something had been hauled along the corridor. She did not follow them. She could not. Instead, she locked herself in the scullery, drawing the bolt with shaking hands. The fire had long gone cold, and the small window showed only the dark shapes of trees against the night. For a long while there was nothing. No sound. No movement. And she began to think she had imagined it all. But then, a thud, soft, deliberate, against the door. Not a knock. A wait. As though something had leaned against the wood to listen. Ellen sat frozen, her breath shallow. The sound slid down the frame, like a palm dragging slowly across the boards. And then it was gone. She did not sleep that night. She sat in the dark until dawn bled faintly across the window pane. When the family returned, they found her pale and trembling, her hands raw from clutching the bolt of the door. They dismissed her fear, of course. Old houses make old noises, they said. But in the days that followed, more of the servants vanished. The gardener. The cook. The boy who cleaned the stables. Each one gone without trace, their duties abandoned mid-task, as if they had simply set something down and stepped away. And always, those grooves in the dust. The dragging that began in one room, and ended in another. Alan lasted 3 more nights. On the 4th, the scullery was found empty, the bolt drawn back, the fire cold. And across the flagstones, etched deep into the stone itself, was a single trail, leading toward the orchard, and vanishing into the earth. No one ever saw her again. But they say, on certain mornings, when the frost clings to the grass and the crows are absent from the walls, you can still hear it, that dragging sound, faint, patient, circling the manor, waiting for someone to stop and listen.